All right, Mike, you're driving me nuts up here. As super as you're doing, let's cut you down. We're gonna need you anyways. So down come the supports. Mike is free. We're making a cape. What I did, as I said, is I took 1.25 yards because my cape is 45 inches long, top to bottom. So I have at least 1.25 yards of two different fabrics. Okay, so I have my inside and my outside, or my inside and my outside, however you want to see it. The cape will be totally reversible the way we're making it today. Now, I'm saving these two fabrics for the quilt I was describing in the beginning of the video. So I'm going to make two other colors so that I have, or a different looking cape, and I'm actually using black thread today so you can really see the sewing and everything. I'm trying to be a really good teacher for us. So the first thing we're going to want to do, and of course you would measure, if you're doing this for a shorter person than myself, I'm almost 6 foot on a good day with the curls, then of course you might want to make it a little bit shorter, but we're going to use the full body of the fabric, and I'm basically going to just work off of the fold. So you can come home directly from your local quilt shop. You can keep it right on the fold. Now, it's debatable whether you want to consider this a washable project or not. Of course, it will be washable, but I don't know that you're going to need to pre-wash it, is what I'm trying to say. I have my other fabric, my liner fabric, whatever you want to call this fabric here. And I'm going to take it also, and I'm going to set it on the fold. Okay, now I said we're doing a 45 top to bottom. I did not completely prep this out yet. All of these measurements are going to be rough, close, however you want to see it. Now, let's drop back into the overhead real quick. Our dimensions, I'm going to zoom you in. Now, what we need to do for our top is I want about 18 inches worth. So therefore, I can just simply come 9 inches from my fold line. So I'm just going to spin this so I've got my 9 inches, or my 0 inches. And I'm going to come over 9 inches, and I'm marking. Okay, now we're going to go down 44 inches, which for me, I know is basically the length of this project. So coming up 5 inches, enough, and I'm going to put a mark here. Then I can come all the way out to that outer edge. Okay, so now I've got my pin here. I'm coming, that's 5 inches up from my bottom corner. I'm coming all the way over here. Now I'm going to mark this edge up here. I know that this is my bottom mark, like yay. I can basically take this because I want it to be longer at the center, shorter at the corners, and I'm going to start, and after I start to cut this, I'm just hanging on. And I've got a really nice sharp blade, and I'm cutting all my layers at once, and I've just made myself a nice little, well, fairly smooth arc. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come up to that first line we marked and the other line we have marked here, and now I'm going to do the old double ruler trick. And again, none of this is rocket surgery, kids. We're just playing here. But what I will point out, when you're free playing or you're just cutting and just sewing like this, just having fun, I'm doing both layers together. So everything's the same. It doesn't matter if the measurements get off from the things I'm saying because I'm just playing here. Now what I am going to do though is I'm going to begin my first cut. I'm heading from the bottom corner up to the top of the neck. So as I start to come through here, what I will not do is I will not cut through both rulers at the same time. It's a great way to nibble into the second ruler and cause a major problem or whatnot. But now what we can do is we can pull these up, we can slide, and now I can use half of my ruler on the line that was already cut to continue the cut. So this becomes like the 3-point turn of sewing. You're doing lots of little steps to keep everything nice and accurate. Presto. 2 pieces of fabric, ready to go with this fun cape shape. Nice and neat. But we still need the ties or the straps. So I made a couple of them already for you, but I want to show you how I did it. And I literally took them. Look, this is no editing. This is live. I haven't touched this fabric. This fabric right here, you could either use one of each, you can line them both, but you're going to need 2 strips, at least 30 inches. If you could go longer, great. So I folded it across here. I'm going to cut off the bad part of the selvage while trimming it up. I shouldn't say bad, there's nothing bad about a selvage, it just doesn't look good as my straps. Okay, and no, I am definitely right-handed, but I'm just set up left-handed in here today. 2 1/2 inches by 30 plus inches, or 30 inches for an adult. Now we've got these little strips. We're just going to square these out because I want to show you a super cool tube turning technique that I developed a while ago, or I don't know if I developed it or not, but it works and it's rad, and you've seen me do it before, but you haven't seen me do it here at Making It Fun because this is all new for all of us together, which is great. So what we're doing is we have any old spool of thicker thread, maybe poly even if you had, pretty heavy duty. This is not going to break in my hands. And I have a little safety pin because we're doing a little tube. You could use the bigger safety pin. You want a solid safety pin. As a matter of fact, gentlemen and ladies, your life at this moment depends on this safety pin. So do use a good safety pin. This is not the time to use the old safety pin in my opinion. I'm going to take that safety pin and I'm going to put it in the fold into the right side, and then as I lay my right sides together here and begin coming over to the sewing machine, and then all I have to do is I drop this down, and yes, I'm sewing with black thread so you can see today. I'm going to definitely backstitch to lock that in. Now I'm making sure that the thread, that chunk, that cording is over on the fold side. It's not in my seam. And now we just hit the gas. And I'm constantly taking a moment to manipulate with my fingers. I do not want to get any stitching in my cord. You know what I'm going to do with that cord is I'm going to use it as a pull tab. Okay, coming into the close-up cam. Now, the ball or yarn or cord or thread, extension cord, whatever you've used is still connected. And now I have this up here in the safety pin. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take that safety pin and we're going to start to push it in and fold over the edge of the tube so that we're getting a good start. Okay, I've just kind of tucked it in, but what I have is I have this cord in here. So now as I pull this cord, I can start to gather, and this is why that safety pin's union is so important up in there. And now what I'm doing is I'm grabbing where the safety pin was, and I'm just kind of slowly, but way faster than any other tube turning technique I've ever seen. Right sides out, all back, killer, perfect, loving it. Take the safety pin off because you have 2 straps to do. Now, if you were not sure how long to make your straps, of course you could make them longer than 30. Try it on the individual, your super friend, and then you could always cut this end down. At this point, we have pressed these over. We have right sides together. Now you can use a stiletto. A scissor, I find, is often really easy to come in here and poke the edges in, because we're going to finish this with a really nice, attractive edge, even though it really won't be seen because it's tied up and underneath my back over here. I'm going to do a little top stitching. I'm going to recommend thread that matches for you. I'm using black so you can see the work today. Super sealed. And I'm going to leave the other one for later because I really want to get back into the construction of our cape. So now we're going to go right sides together. So I'm going to take and I'm going to find that narrow edge, the neck edge, and I'm going to throw this out there. We're doing this right sides together. If I forget to say it, we're going to need to leave an opening somewhere. I prefer way down in the bottom. It's way easier, but we're going to need to leave some way to get ourselves out of this project. And a 1/4 inch seam allowance at least, if you'd like to use 3/8. Better polyester or cotton thread because it's just a costume. And now what I want to do is I want to go from the neck down to the corner because that's where I've started sewing at the neck. I'm going to finish sewing down to the corner. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take our straps. Let's think about this. There is a seam in our strap and I consider that the wrong side. Sorry, seam, you just don't look as nice as the other side. Please place your right sides with what you want to be your outer side or your back side of the cape. I've taken the time to figure this out. So I'm going to take this print and I'm going to lay it right sides together with that print. And I'm going to literally just put all of the body of that down inside the body of the cape. It's inside the cape, not outside the cape right now. I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to visually set this about 3/4 of an inch down from the bottom. I do want to have enough space that when I turn that corner later, it's not a problem. It's stitched in. Back stitching at the top. And as I went over that strap, I'm actually back stitching through it twice to really secure it, because that's what's going to hold the body of the cape on. Now I'm going to just let this roar. Okay, now I've come to that corner and I'm going to stop right there, because we're going to go back and address the other side. So here I am at the needle, back stitching up there to secure it. Again, as I come through the strap, I'm going all the way through the strap once, kicking it into reverse. I'm just winding up both edges, flying through here, because we're almost done actually. We just have to do that bottom seam. Okay. Now, remember, we need to leave an opening so we can get our hands back inside. So I'm going to simply rotate here, set a few stitches. This is that bottom edge. And I'm just going to kind of naturally sew all the way over to that crease, the fold that was down the center, because remember, we were going straight off the bolt, straight out of the manufacturing for this one. Now, as I approach this crease down here, I'm going to stop, I'm going to back stitch, and I'm going to cut. And the reason I'm using the crease at the bottom is that should set a nice little distance at the bottom that is somewhat square or straight, so that when I turn this right sides out, it will be easier to press and top stitch as I go. Okay. Now, I've jumped a gap of about 4 fingers. That's all I need to do to be able to get my hand inside of there. And then I'm going to go ahead and finish off this edge as I go. And my edges have lined up beautifully, which is what we were hoping for. Before we get too carried away, you may want to take a moment and dog ear or snip away some of the bulk in the corners up here. And your bottom corners. Okay, so now I'm going to reach in here. Technically, you could grab both of those straps that are floating around up in there. Give it a tug. And bring it on out. Right sides together. Right sides out. Wrong sides together now. And we are almost done. Now, what I'm doing at the moment, I forgot to tell you, is I'm actually kind of setting the seam from the inside with my hand and a little bit of muscle for my top stitching, because the top stitching I prefer to go all the way around with, and that's how you'll close that bottom edge as well. But because it's such an attractive looking cape, I would probably be wise to take a moment and change to a beautiful gold thread and top stitch this with gold. So what I did is I went through and I addressed the edges. What I like to do is I like to come over here to the iron and I take it and I just press the seam continue that was from the patchwork I was doing or the seam I was doing, and then I fold it over on the top and kind of the same thing, the way that seam was continuing along. And I just get it rolled under nice and lined up. But then at that point, we can just come through and we can just top stitch this all the way around. You have your beautiful cape. You could, of course, have done embellishments on one side if you wanted to. Then I'm just going to come around. I don't know if I can double cape or not, but I take my straps. Oh, I can double cape. Oh, I can double cape. So I go over like this, and it's kind of neat because then it hits you on your shoulders just right. And then you bring it underneath your back this way. Then you tie it on here, and you tie it on there. And it holds. It works, it doesn't choke you, it's fantastic. But yeah, it's basically designed to not choke you. It comes around, goes under your arms in the front like yay, under the arms, and then around to the back. So cool, excellent. I love it, and it's super fun, and I love all of you. Thank you for being here on a Wednesday with me, Rob Appel from Michael Miller Fabrics, making it fun on YouTube and everywhere else I can go. With a t-shirt like this, I mean, how could you not, right? I love you all. We'll see you real soon. Peace out.